What happens to justice when simple innocence? Well, when it's just not enough anymore to protect the innocent. That's the heavy philosophical question we're diving into today.
It is. We're looking at Lois Lowry's classic Number the Stars, and it's more than just a historical novel, really. It's a sharp look at ordinary people under the thumb of hatred and occupation in World War II Denmark.
Exactly. And we believe some stories really must be challenged, explored deeply. Our mission here is to probe how this particular fiction sheds light on moral truth, on human reasoning. Because fiction, even imagined stories, they reflect the real moral structure of our world.
Yeah, the book really centers on 10-year-old Anne-Marie Johansson. Her normal life just gets shattered. She's suddenly forced into these complex moral and physical challenges, basically carrying the weight of her time.
And before we really get into the heart of Anne-Marie's journey, just a quick note. You're experiencing a unique two-host AI conversation powered by Google's NotebookLM for deeper, more dynamic book summaries.
Okay, so if we look at the book's foundational claim about human nature, it's surprisingly simple, but also profoundly true. It's that ordinary people, they are capable of truly extraordinary bravery.
Right. That's the core tension, isn't it? The one we really need to unpack. And the story backs this up constantly. Anne-Marie, she starts as this very average Danish girl, but she repeatedly chooses to risk her own safety for her friend, Ellen, who is Jewish. It makes you realize courage isn't about not being afraid. It's about the will to act for others despite that fear.
That's right. And the story lays out these central moral tensions so clearly. Virtue versus survival, right? Truth versus conformity. The self versus society. These conflicts are always bubbling just under the surface.
The themes just leap out. Bravery, sacrifice, empathy. They're all vital. But maybe the most fascinating theme is that tension between childhood innocence and the necessary deception needed for survival. And that's where the ethical challenge really bites. Does the end saving a life justify the means even when it means a child has to lie?
That tension is exactly what makes the book resonate, I think, across different ages. It shows character growth almost in real time. We see Anne-Marie move from this protected childhood naivete towards a really profound, mature agency.
And the contrast with the others is so clear. Her younger sister, Kirsty, she stays almost completely unaware, her innocence kept intact. But Ellen, because of the persecution, she's forced to mature almost overnight. She doesn't get that same protected childhood.
And meanwhile, the parents, the adults, they function as these steadfast moral anchors. They have to operate daily in this sort of moral grayness that resistance demands, constantly weighing risks, making hard choices that Anne-Marie eventually has to learn to navigate herself.
The story really pushes the limits of ethical action. It shows us that morality in wartime isn't black and white. We see these specific examples of what you might call moral compromise, but they become acts of incredible ingenuity, of solidarity, saving lives.
Right, like the whole deception around Great Aunt Berthe, pretending someone died, holding a fake funeral, all just to create a cover for Jewish neighbors to escape. I mean, that's a lie, yes, but it's designed to save dozens of lives. That's a complex moral calculation.
Or an even tougher moment, perhaps, needing to drug an infant so it won't cry during a silent escape attempt. That's deeply uncomfortable to think about. But in that specific context, the need to preserve life seems to override other ethical rules, like non-deception.
It forces the question, doesn't it? What's the real cost of gaining moral knowledge? Can innocence really survive in such a dark conflict, or does it have to be traded for this hard-won understanding and responsibility? The book seems to argue for the trade-off. Painful, but necessary.
And if you look at how those moral decisions are structured, the narrative is careful to ground itself in historical fact. The rescue of Danish Jews actually happened. It's well documented. And that grounding gives the fiction its real weight.
Absolutely. And that grounding helps us understand the deep links between, say, social privilege and sacrifice. Anne-Marie's family uses their relative safety, their social position, to help others who have lost everything. That's solidarity in action.
It also strongly echoes, I think, the core idea of the Golden Rule. The story consistently points towards loving thy neighbor as thyself. It makes you, the reader, consider, would you risk everything for someone else?
That kind of reciprocal empathy is the ultimate moral test the characters face. And the fiction shows that when the situation becomes that stark, people often do rise to the occasion.
And this is where the story really gets its emotional power, through its symbolism. Think about Ellen's Star of David necklace. It's not just jewelry, it's a potent symbol. It represents vulnerability, identity, and quiet resistance all at once. The author encodes so much truth in that one detail.
And the way emotions work in the story, It's almost like a form of reasoning. Fear and shame, which could cloud judgment, here they actually clarify it. Fear of failure pushes Anne-Marie. Shame of potential betrayal reinforces the need to protect.
Yeah, the ethical world the author builds feels remarkably consistent. When ideals crumble, like living freely, truthfully, it's because of systemic failure, the occupation, and this moral necessity the deception required. It's not just put down to simple human weakness. That clarity makes the narrative logic really strong.
And if you're finding this kind of analysis, this critical thinking about stories engaging, remember to check out Mindful Moments. That's our channel offering AI book analysis, summaries, critiques. It's all designed to inspire reflection, rational thought. And it's particularly useful, we think, for aspiring authors trying to map ethical structures in their own fiction.
Okay, let's talk context for a moment. What real-world social assumptions does this book really expose?
Well, it clearly exposes systemic injustices, and it challenges cultural norms by highlighting the incredible power of collective civil resistance against organized evil. It shifts the focus maybe from grand military actions to everyday civic duty.
Right. And you can connect that moral tension directly to fundamental principles. Liberty, justice, equality, civic conscience. Things societies strive for. The fictional Danish community in the book really models those core duties quite beautifully.
And importantly, the book's main premises, they really hold up under scrutiny. The logical consistency is there because Anne-Marie's journey, her growing awareness, feels believable. It feels earned. Her heroism isn't sudden or implausible, it develops, which makes the historical realism stronger.
But, okay, a balanced evaluation means we also need to acknowledge the controversy, right? While the book does a great job demystifying ethical gray areas and grounding history in relatable experience, some critics argue that by focusing so much on Denmark, a place where resistance was, relatively speaking, successful, it might risk downplaying the sheer horror, the scale of the Holocaust elsewhere.
That's the potential gap, yes. Because it's aimed at a younger audience, the novel inevitably simplifies some of the worst atrocities. It has to, perhaps. It leaves that bridge, the one to the raw adult truths of genocide. Well, it leaves that for teachers and families to build. It needs external context for the full picture.
So what's the takeaway for us then? What's the enduring lesson?
I think the book's lasting value is how it cultivates empathy and civic responsibility. In any reader, really, regardless of age. It shows that even small, uncomfortable acts of courage can have huge ripple effects. It demands reflection on tolerance, on protecting the vulnerable in our own world.
And the key insight is just so powerful, that deception and sacrifice, when they're used to preserve life against profound injustice, they force us beyond simple black and white moral thinking. It shows that practical morality often involves these excruciating, deeply uncomfortable choices.
That feels like the true lesson this fiction offers. A hard one, but important. And maybe a final thought for you, the listener, to consider. To really grasp the scale of the moral courage shown here, it helps immensely to look at primary sources. Accounts from the Danish resistance, survivor memoirs, reading those alongside this fiction. That's crucial for a deeper understanding of the human condition during that terrible time. Click the link on screen for the in-depth analysis. Subscribe, share, and please continue thinking rationally, one story at a time.
See the many genre-based book podcasts at Mindful Moments. Subscribe and nourish your mind on the go.